Welcome in, everyone, to the ATU Sports Corner March Madness Show. We have got a great show for you guys today. We've got a lot of content to get into. So let's just dive right in it, guys. Before we get into our bracket breakdowns, I just want to get some overall thoughts on the selection this year. Here with Brandon and Cammie. Guys, I mean, what do you guys think? How do you think the whole bracket selection kind of panned out this year?
I don't think the committee did too bad of a job. I do have a couple gripes. The way the bubble was handled, I would not have had as many SEC teams in. Texas, I would not have had in the field. I would also not have had UNC.
Not as many SEC teams?
Not as many, just one less, just Texas out of the field. But I would have had West Virginia in there, maybe in Indiana. But my other big gripe is Louisville. 8 seed is just way too low for me. I would have had them 5, 6, 7 range. But other than that, I think they did a solid job.
Cammie, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with Brandon. You know, it really comes down to those bubble teams and who's fighting for that spot in the tournament. Really, my biggest gripe, like you said, I think Indiana should have gone over UNC easily. Indiana's beat Wake Forest, they've beat Purdue, they've beat Ohio State. Well, UNC has lost to Stanford, Louisville, Wake Forest, and Clemson, who are big-name teams. But if you're going to get in the tournament, you got to win those games. And I don't think UNC has enough of those games won for them to be considered at all.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of teams this year, especially all 4 1 seeds who are really good, playing great basketball. Who's going to be that team that just exceeds expectations? You know, we've seen great performance from Auburn all season, just exceeding those expectations in the regular season. Who's going to do that in the big dance this year? Who do you guys think?
You know, it's interesting because you mentioned those number 1 seeds, but also the 8 seeds this year are also incredibly dangerous. Gonzaga is a very solid team. They're uber talented. Of course, UConn, the 2-time defending champions, are very good. And like I just said, Louisville, I don't believe they should even be an 8 seed. And even though these ones are all very good, those teams are very capable of upsetting them and going on runs.
Yeah, and for me, I've got, even with them being a 5 seed, well, it's ranked higher. I have Clemson. I think Clemson could go really deep in the tournament. They have a good path to get there. I think their side's probably easier than the other. And so I think Clemson really could make a run, maybe even making it to Elite 8, Final 4, even championship if they do their best.
I like it. So lastly here, now out of every region, who would you guys say is the toughest team or toughest region in your opinion?
I think it's got to be the West. Because not only in the West are the top-seeded teams like Florida and St. John's very good, but also the lower-seeded teams like Colorado State and Grand Canyon are very capable of winning games, even going on to that second weekend. I think this is the most unpredictable region. It's the most solid throughout. And even like middle-seeded teams like Maryland and Memphis are very solid and have a chance to go deep as well.
Yeah, and I think I agree with Brandon. I mean, yeah, it has to be the West. I think the West is where we are going to see the most upsets happen. Even though people like Memphis and things like that are good, Memphis got beat by Arkansas State early in the season, and so we see some of these 5 and 6 teams that really have had bad losses, and these teams that are lower seeded that are on fire right now, I think could take advantage of that.
Well, when we come back, we are going to talk some more just about our bracket overview, but we've got a great show ahead of us. Stay with us.
May feel alone.
You aren't. Because we
Didn't stay quiet. I am a businesswoman.
Survivor, survivor, survivor.
And we won't stay quiet.
As you get older, it's important to eat healthy, but groceries aren't getting any cheaper. Over 5 million older adults like you are eligible for benefits that help them pay for food. Visit benefitscheckup.org. You've earned this.
Welcome back to the ATU Sports Corner March Madness Show. Before we get into our bracket overviews here, I have a few more questions for you. Now, we've got a lot of teams that could potentially go on a run. and wiggle their way into the Final Four. We've seen it many and many times before. Who do you guys think is going to be that team to, potentially have that Cinderella run?
I think Drake has been the obvious one that everyone's been predicting. They've been very solid all year. They're up to 30 wins on the season. They've been playing incredible ball. They've been consistent. They play that slow, methodical offense. They have all the D2 transfers along with their coach. But also, I think you have to pay your respects to teams like UC San Diego, even Colorado State at the 12 slots that are really capable of going on deep runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I am going to go with the obvious one. I think Drake is going to be the team that we see drive towards this. And hopefully the hype around them and people seeing how much chemistry and how much they've brought over from that D2 team in Northwestern Missouri State, I think people seeing that, hopefully that doesn't get to them too much where they overthink it. But I think with how they're playing right now, only allowing 59 points per game and averaging 30 rebounds, that's going to go insane when you're playing even higher ranked teams. If you're playing that kind of defense and having that rebounding average, I think that they have a really good potential to go far in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anybody, to be honest. You got to watch out for your first-timers, High Point. St. John's playing really good. Omaha, could be any of those teams. So when we get into our top 2 seed line teams, who do you guys think are the most vulnerable of the top 2 seed line?
I think not necessarily because of their own struggles, but because of who they're facing. St. John's, in my opinion, is the most likely to lose in that first round. This Omaha team I've hyped up throughout our season. J.J. White and Markel Sutton are offensive juggernauts. Mm-hmm. Those guys know how to score the bucket. And St. John's is not an elite three-point shooting team. That's really the one area they struggle. So if Omaha has a great three-point shooting game and St. John's struggles in that department, things could get dicey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and for me, I've got to say, at least not even just the most vulnerable at 1 and 2, but they're definitely the weakest 1 seed. I'm going with Houston. I think Houston is going to have just a tough time in their region. We have a lot of good teams, not even just coming out of the SEC, but coming out of the ACC and the Big East. They're going to have to play a lot of good teams, such as maybe even Clemson, who I have going far. I think that Houston could be in trouble when it comes to that. They're not very big offensively, and they lost to San Diego State early in the season. So I think if they make mistakes like that with these lower-seeded teams, it could be a problem for them. As also, they don't have enough depth on their team at all. I think they have really good players as their core, but if injuries happen, which as we know, they happen in basketball, if that happens to them in March, I think they're done for.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know what's going to happen with these injuries. Last question, guys, before we roll to break. Who are you guys most excited to see? Who are you guys most excited for? And, I mean, what's going to be your, key point of this tournament?
Well, we've already mentioned it a couple of times, but these 1 seeds this year, I believe these are the best collection of 1 seeds that I have ever seen. They're all very capable of winning the national title, and if anyone picked any one of them, I would not argue.
Yeah. Cami?
I'm just going to say the SEC has so much hype around it right now with them having 14 teams in. So I'm excited to see how many of these teams face the SEC and how well they do around them because there is so much hype. Are they as good as we think they are, or will they fall to some of these lower-seeded teams?
Only time will tell. Tournament's just days away. We're going to get into some bracket breakdowns when we come back, starting with Brandon. So stay with us on our ATU Sports Corner March Madness show.
You've worked hard. Long days. Year after year. Decade after decade. You've seen a lot of things. Enjoyed the good times. And weathered the tough times. You've earned a life that you can call your own, alongside the people you love the most. Retirement worries shouldn't get in the way. But many Americans like you are finding that retiring on a fixed income is harder than they expected. Fortunately, there are thousands of benefits programs that can help. Visit benefitscheckup.org to see if you're among the millions of people eligible for thousands of dollars in benefits to help you age well, so you can focus on what's really important. Benefits Checkup. You've earned this.
Welcome back to the ATU Sports Corner March Madness Show. We are ready to get into our first bracket selection of the show. Let's bring in Brandon. How's it going, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm ready to see your bracket.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're just going to start in the South region. Now, we do want to make it clear that we are starting with the Sweet 16. You have already filled out your round of 32s. All right, we're starting over here with our South region for you, Brandon. Now, I do see you have Auburn and UC San Diego facing up in the Sweet 16. You had UC San Diego beating Michigan and Texas A&M. What makes you think they're making a run to the Sweet 16 this year?
Well, you know, I've been hyping them up the last few weeks on our show. This UC San Diego team is super talented. They are not your average mid-major school. And Niwanina Tate-Jones has been one of the best players in the country, not just for mid-major players, not just for the Big West Conference, but in general. He is a great, super versatile player for them. He does it all. He's sort of a point forward type of guy. He's about 6'5", and he's a bigger guy, but he really runs the point guard a lot of times. They also have some great options alongside him with Ty McGuy has been great. Gray as well was Defensive Player of the Year in the conference and is also a very good offensive player. I think that they're super dangerous.
Okay, so it's no surprise to me that you do have Auburn facing up against them and beating Louisville in the round of 32. Now, who do you see taking on Auburn and UC San Diego? Who's winning?
I'm going to have to go with Auburn. I think this will be the end of UC San Diego's Cinderella run. Although I do love this UC San Diego roster, I don't think they really have the size to compete with Auburn. You know, of course, Auburn has Janai Broome, Chaney Johnson, as well as Dylan Cardwell, all playing big positions for them, and all those guys are bigger than anyone that San Diego has in their rotation.
All right, to our other end of the bracket, Brandon, I see you have Iowa State and Michigan State in the Sweet 16. What makes you think these teams are going to get this far?
Well, both of these teams are super talented, and they have all of what it takes to get the seeds that they have right now. They are not overseeded. They got the seeds that they deserved. But for this game, I do think I am going to go with the lower-seeded team. I'm going to go with Iowa State. I know that they haven't played their best ball lately, but their two best guards, Taman Lipsey and Keyshawn Gilbert, have been injured. They've been out. They haven't been playing, even though Curtis Jones has stepped up as well as Jefferson in their roles, and they have kept them in games. I believe with those two guys back, this is one of the most dangerous teams in the tournament.
I like it. I like it. Iowa State going to the Elite Eight. Let's go down to the West, all right? So you got Florida, no surprise there, going all the way, and Memphis. This is interesting. Memphis beating Colorado and GCU to get to the Sweet 16. What's your thinking here?
I think Memphis is the most dangerous of the 5 Cs. They are a super talented team. I know they have slipped up previously this season against some teams that are a little bit lesser, but whenever they play the best teams, they play their best ball. So I trust that Penny Hardaway is going to have his guys ready to go. And even though they are going to be ready to go, hey, this Florida team, they're a buzzsaw right now. I don't see anyone beating them, especially in the Sweet 16 or earlier, so I'm taking them to move on.
Taking Florida. All right, So heading over to the other side of the West here, I see we've got Drake and St. John's in the Sweet 16. Drake's an interesting pick for me, taking down Mizzou and Texas Tech to get there. What do you think?
Well, that Texas Tech Drake game was super hard for me to make a decision on. These are two teams who I actually really like a lot. I think if this game does happen, it will be honestly a complete toss-up. But, you know, since it's a toss-up, might as well have some fun with it, right? Might as well take the lower seed. This Drake team has been great all year. They have 30 wins. They've made a huge jump with a lot of their players as well as their coach from the D2 level. They're super talented. Ben Sturtz has been their best player this year. And I think that his shooting, as well as their very slow, methodical offense, is just the right formula to beat this super great defensive St. John's team. So I am going to take them. I do love St. John's this year. Love me some Rick Pitino. This is a super talented team. But, you know, it's March. Things get weird.
Yeah,
sometimes you go out and a team like Drake has a great three-point shooting night, and that's something that St. John's doesn't really have this year. They're not really a very good three-point shooting team. And that's really something you want to see in March.
But you have St. John's beating Kansas.
I do. Kansas has been a little too inconsistent for me this year.
I like it. I'd love to see it. Drake in the Elite Eight. Be something to watch. All right, we're going to go ahead and go over to the other side of the board, the Midwest. Okay, this is what I expected. More along the lines of what I expected. Now, I would have personally taken Purdue over Clemson, but that's okay.
I don't mind that.
All right, so Houston and Clemson in the Sweet 16. What's it going to take for Clemson and Houston to get there first, and who are you taking?
Well, Houston, I think this is a little bit more of an interesting matchup in the second round than I originally anticipated. Gonzaga is very interesting this year. You know, they haven't really played up to their preseason expectations, but they are a super talented team, not one who I would want to play if I am a Houston running into them in the second round as a 1 seed. But I do believe Houston is a better team. I believe they have the better roster, so I did take them to move on. As for Clemson, you know, I think that they had a worse roster last year, and, you know, still they moved on to a really deep round with their wins against New Mexico and Baylor and so on. But this team is not good enough guard-wise, in my opinion, to go all the way to Elite Eight, so I'm taking Houston.
I like it. I like it. Okay, so heading down to the other side of the Midwest here, I see you've got Kentucky and Tennessee. Who do you got here?
I think I'm going to roll with the Volunteers. This Kentucky team, and I'm really honestly a little bit worried about sending them all the way to the Sweet 16 because they've just been so inconsistent this year, you know, and I think a lot of that is a reliance on three-point shooting from guys like Jackson Robinson and Kobe Bryant, and, you know, that's just a very fickle thing. You know, sometimes you're going to shoot well from three, sometimes you're going to shoot terrible. That's just the way the game of basketball is. I trust the Volunteers consistently more in the tournament.
I like it. I like it. All right, so in the East region here, we've got Duke and Arizona. Who are you taking?
You know, Duke, I am a little bit worried about Cooper Flagg's injury to the ankle, but I do think, like we saw in the ACC tournament, this team is still uber talented even without him, and I do believe that he will at least be back on the floor by this point, maybe not 100%, but I do think it will be enough to take down a very solid Arizona team, also a little bit inconsistent this season. Caleb Love has been kind of up and down. So this is a very dangerous team, not one team I'd want to play, but I am sticking with the Blue Devils.
I like it if Cooper Flagg's heavy. So heading over to the other side of the East here, you've got Wisconsin and Alabama in the Sweet 16. Who are you taking to the Elite Eight?
Well, you know, I don't think there'd be a lot of defense in this game with these two teams matched up. But the offense of these two that I trust more is Alabama. You know, outside of Blackwell and Tanji, Wisconsin doesn't really have those next level scorers as role players that Alabama has. So I'm rolling with the Tide.
I'm digging it. Auburn and Iowa State. Who you taking?
You know, I'm actually going to get a little bit of an upset on this one. I'm going to take the Cyclones to take down the Auburn Tigers. Wow. Again, this Iowa State team is super talented. We've seen that when they have been healthy, they really haven't been healthy, but I do believe if they can get healthy, there's not a team in the country that they can't beat. And, you know, Auburn, honestly, they haven't been playing really their best basketball lately. I know this is still a super talented team, and the teams that they have lost to are very good, but so is Iowa State. And I think that Iowa State, in the right situation with those guards, they can beat anybody.
Wow, down goes the first 1 seed for Brandon. Heading over to the East, Duke and Alabama.
I know I took Alabama to win the national title at the start of the season in our preview show, but, man, this team has just been a little bit too inconsistent for me to trust to go win that national title. Mark Sears hasn't shot the ball the way you'd be accustomed to. But, hey, you know who has been consistent? The Blue Devils. This team is just a buzzsaw. They are running through everybody. I'm taking with them.
I like it. All right, heading down to the Midwest. In the Elite Eight, we've got Houston and Tennessee.
I'm going to roll with the Cougars here.
Nice.
I think that Houston defense, especially the way they guard the three ball, is going to be completely lethal to a team like Tennessee. You know, they're not a super high-powered offense. They rely a lot from the game of Ziegler and Lanier. I think that is a very good matchup as a 1-2 for Houston.
I would definitely agree with that one. Okie dokie. In the West, Florida and Drake. I think I can tell who you're going to pick, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the Florida Gators are just, like I said with these other teams, it's a buzzsaw, man. They are incredible this year. They just won the SEC tournament. Drake, it's been a great run. Love to see it. Not going all the way to the Final Four. I'm going with the Gators.
Stopped in the Elite Eight. This is pretty realistic, Brandon. I'm liking it. All right, so now heading to the Final Four. first we've got Iowa State and Florida. Who are you taking?
I'm going to roll with the Florida Gators in this one. I really believe that even though both of these teams are elite at the guard spots, that this Florida team is going to have the biggest advantage at the bigs. Iowa State does have very good bigs with Momcilovic and Jefferson, but man, these Florida bigs, I would say they're pretty easily the best in the country. I know Auburn has some great bigs themselves, but they have Henlawton, they have Ha, they have Chinulu, and they have Alex Condon, who has been great for them all year long. Henlawton just got back off of injury, and I don't think they've lost a game since he came back. They've been absolutely incredible, especially down the stretch. They are playing their best basketball at the perfect time. They just won the SEC championship, We'll get to the team that just won the ACC in a second here. But this team is super talented. I think they have a great chance to win the national title.
Taking the Gators. So Duke and Houston, your last Final Four matchup. Who's going to be playing Florida?
Well, I think I'm once again going to roll with the Blue Devils. This team is super hot. Like I just said, they just won the ACC title without their best player, Cooper Flagg, who is maybe going to win Player of the Year. Either him or Broom. I don't know. I think I would give my vote to Broom. But he is absolutely deserving of that honor as well. You know, he has played super well all year. They have a lot of guys who have made leaps. Sion James, Tyrese Proctor, as well as the young guys with Flagg, as well as Malawak. They also have had a better depth than I expected. Knipple has been better than I expected.
Florida and Duke in the championship. Who's taking home the title this year?
I am going to roll with Duke in this one. I think the star power for the Blue Devils is going to be the difference in this one. You know, Florida does have a lot of great options to go to on offense. They have Clayton, they have Martin, they have Condon, they have Richard, all these guys who at points in the season have been the number one guy for them. But, you know, at times when it comes down to it, not having a clear number one can be a little bit of an issue. You don't know who you want to put the ball in the hands of when the going gets tough. There's no question about that with the Blue Devils. Everyone knows it's going to Cooper Flagg, and he's not just a scorer. He is very much capable of kicking the ball out to James or Proctor or even throwing up a lob to Malawak. These guys are super talented. They are athletic. They can move on defense. I think Duke finally can get it done again this year.
Blue Devils taking home the title for another year. That is Brandon's bracket for you. This is pretty realistic. Now, let me say, if things get shaken up in any way, or if Cooper Flagg does not return healthy, do you still think Duke's going?
No, I don't. And in fact, if Wednesday night comes and we see a story that Cooper Flagg is going to be out until at least the Elite Eight, I might be changing my bracket, to be honest with you.
There you go. That's
I don't
fair.
know. I don't know if we're allowing that in our
here.
bracket
He's
group.
got Duke here.
But that would change things significantly. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to wrap it up. We're going to head to break, and when we come back, we are going to get Cammie's bracket selection. Stay with us.